We are going to be using complementary colors in a self-portrait, and what you are going to need is you can decide to use paints if you want, pencil crayons and Kokies if you have. What you need to make sure you are doing is I'm going to use a piece of card and a pencil. Remember, when we're sketching anything out, we have to do it very lightly, and then when we're happy with it, we can go over it darker. So you can see one way to make sure that you are sketching is you hold your pencil further back, therefore you don't push hard if you're holding it in the front. So if I hold my pencil far at the back, I'm not really worrying about making lines perfect, but I'm sketching out an oval for my head. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see that line's not great, but I'm doing it so lightly that I can remove or erase anything I'm not happy with. Now, the thing to remember is your neck is quite thick. If you put your hands around your neck right now, you can feel that your neck is actually connected to your head, and it's very thick. So if you didn't have a thick neck, your head wouldn't be able to keep up. And the other thing to remember is your shoulders are very wide as well. So please don't give yourself teeny tiny like this. Don't draw a nice big head and then give yourself a tiny little neck and even smaller shoulders. Your shoulders are wider than your head is, so make sure they're much bigger and your neck is much bigger. So that's something to think about. Once you have your head, neck and shoulders, what I want you to do is, when we're thinking about proportions of the face, if you divide your face into thirds, then we can start laying out where everything should sit on your face, so the proportions of the face. This top line is where your eyebrows are going to sit, so you can start lightly sketching out where they're going to be. The bottom line is where the end of your nose is going to be, so you can again start sketching out where the end of your nose is going to be. And if you feel your eyebrows, they actually connect to your nose, so your nose isn't just floating over here, it's actually connected to your eyebrows. So you can't actually start drawing your eyes until you know where your eyebrows are, because if you start drawing your eyes, you might draw them too high or too low. If you have eyebrows, you're pretty much showing yourself exactly where your eyes need to be. And again, I'm sketching everything out, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Anything I'm not happy with, that eye's a bit too big, I can make it a bit smaller when I do my proper lines that I'm happy with. When you are drawing an eye, something to remember is a pupil that would be quite dark, the rest of your iris, which is the colored part of your eye, then leave a little bit of white, which is a highlight, because if you look at your eyes in a mirror, you should be able to see that your eyes are moist, which keeps them nice and healthy, but it also shows that you're alive. If you weren't, you wouldn't have that highlight in your eye. So that's one thing to do to make someone look, or something look, more realistic. Once you have your nose, you can then draw a little line to show you where about your mouth should be, and you can start drawing or sketching out your mouth. If you do have access to a mirror, have a look in the mirror, see what you look like. Remember, this middle line would be a bit darker, and maybe my chin is actually longer, maybe it's fatter. So now's the time where you can actually change things you're not happy with. Remember, this eye was too big, I'd make it a bit smaller now, bring it in, add the detail I need to. Change anything that I'm not happy with. Make my eyebrows a bit thicker. And then we had these two lines over here. That's where your ears are going to fit. So actually, if you feel from your eyebrow and you run your fingers across from your nose and your eyebrow, you can feel that your ear actually fits in that area over there. Remember, there are, where you have holes in your ear or any folds, it would be darker. So the same thing with your nose. because you have nostrils, that would be darker, so we'd go in darker there. Same thing over here, this nostril would be darker, and then we would start shading our face. Now there are lots of ways to shade. You could shade using a technique like this, which is called hatching. If you go over it in this way, that's actually cross hatching when you use lines in different directions. So one way to shade is either hatching. Another way is, this is actually how I shade. I just use little scribbles and I change the darkness or the pressure of my pencil when I'm shading. So if I wanted to go much darker, I would push down harder on my pencil. Another way of shading is stippling. You can use little dots, scribbles, hatching. It's up to you how you actually decide you want to shade your face. Remember, don't forget hair. Remember, your hair sits on top of your head, so you have hair on top. We might not see this ear if she's turned this way, but we can do a hint of an ear, and you can have hair either going onto her or behind her shoulder. Let's see, I'm not showing you what I'm doing. And remember, under your neck would actually be shaded because your face is projected forward and your neck would be further back. Other thing to think about is collarbones, and then whatever you're wearing. Think about a top or t-shirt or whatever you decide to put yourself wearing. Once you have your lines and you're happy with where everything's sitting, you don't need to rub anything out. Remember, if you're not happy with anything, you can erase it, but you can also, because we work so lightly, you can just go darker over any area that you're not happy with and change it, fix it. Remember, there are no mistakes in art, and sometimes when you think it's a mistake, it actually turns into something magical, something you would never have thought of before if you didn't make that mistake. So don't beat yourself up if it's not perfect or if you don't think it looks great. You can always change it and add into it. Now I'm using an HP pencil, which isn't great to actually shade with. I should be using a 4B or 6B. So if you do have those, please use a dark pencil. You're able to do much darker lines with that pencil. I wanted to show you very quickly. This is a 6B I'm using, and you can see how dark you can actually go using a 6B rather than an HB pencil. Because it is so dark, you don't have to push that hard, so the pressure you're using, you don't have to worry about pressing too hard when you're shading. Now it's great for shadows in your face and when you want to darken any areas. If I've used hatching over here, I don't have to push that hard. My ear though, I'd want a darker shadow inside my ear, and then I'd also want a darker shadow under my neck and under my chin. You can see how I'm starting to build up my face just using a darker pencil that you can put more pressure or less pressure because it's a darker pencil. There we go. I'm just going to do half the face because it's an example, and then show you what the next step would be. Once you have shaded everything and you're happy with your shading, then what you would do, don't forget all your shadows, and if they're highlights, you'd leave them white or lighter. Remember techniques of hatching, cross-hatching and scribbles are ways to shade. Okay, once you're happy with that, you would then take your picture and you are going to divide it into thirds. Now I'm not going to be boring and divide 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to go like this. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3 sections. Once I have my 3 sections, I'm going to be using complementary colors. So orange and blue, yellow and purple, red and green in each section. So the first one, I'm going to do the top section over here. I'm going to be using yellow and purple, which are complementary colors, and I've got Cokies, and I've got pencil crayons, and I've got different tones of yellow and different tones of purple. Okay, this section I'm going to do purple and yellow. This one I'll do green and red, and this one the other 2 complementary colors. Once you have shaded with your pencil and then gone in and done 1 pair of complementary colors like yellow and purple like I have here, you would then do your other sections with those complementary colors. So for example, I might have orange in her face with a blue background because they're a complementary pair. And then remember, you can use different tones of those colors. So if using orange, you can use different tones of orange, and then blues, different blues. What I actually might do here is, instead of having blue next to the purple, have an orange face and a blue background. And then down here, I've just made my lines a bit darker so you can see my sectioning. Over here, I might have her body with the red and then the green background, or the other way around if it looks better. So that is basically what you're going to be doing. I haven't finished off her t-shirt or top over here, but you can see how you would shade using your pencil crayons. If I was using paint, I would also use paint in a similar way of shading and looking where you have darker areas in your face. Of course, I've rushed this because it's just an example, but you would take your time doing it and making sure that you're using those complementary colors and showing shading within your portrait. Okay, I can't wait to see what your portraits look like. Bye.